Thanks for tuning into the 6-3 podcast. I'm your host, Joel, with my co-host, Ben. I skipped the intro today, and that is fine. I like it better that way. We're going to mix it up a little bit on the show. Week 5 is currently still going because Tuesday is football now, which I'll never complain about filling up all the days of the week with football.
No, it was weird, though. I forgot about it, and then the guy who I worked with was like, yeah, you watching football tonight? And I was like, did I miss Maction coming back or something? I was confused, and then he's like, no, Bills and Titans. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So it's pretty cool.
I had a lot riding on this game, so I still had fantasy football going on. I risked it all and plugged in some Derrick Henry, Devin Singletary, Stephon Diggs still tonight to try to win my games. But yeah, that game is currently in progress and going pretty well as anyone would expect. Derrick Henry just ended Josh Norman's life, but it is a good game, 14-10. Right here in the second quarter with 2.5 minutes left.
I'd say it's about to be halftime, so it'll be good.
Yeah, and then baseball is also going on right now. The Atlanta Braves are up against the Dodgers 6-0 in the middle of the fifth inning.
I think they're, most people kind of picked Dodgers-Yankees kind of preseason before the season even started because those are kind of on paper the best teams. But and then the Dodgers were the best team all year long. Yankees had their injury issues, and then the Rays kind of definitely snuck up there and shocked them this in the postseason. But the Braves are starting to really make a statement here. You take game one, that's one thing, but if they go up 2-0, which it looks like they're about to, that's tough to pull out of if you're the Dodgers. So I mean, obviously they're talented, that they can definitely do that, but that's tough. Braves are really young, up and coming, so that's going to be it'll be an interesting series to see, from this game on. But if the Dodgers go down 2-0, I don't know if they're going to be able to pull out of that. So.
Well, they put a risk in there tonight. They started Tony Gonsolin.
Well, Kershaw got scratched. He had back spasms, so they were going to go with Kershaw, but then
they've been running a tight start. I mean, they're running 3 guys. It's been pretty much Kershaw, Walker, Buehler, and then they put Dustin May in before, but now they got Gonsolin going. So
now they've got May, I think, coming out of the pen, which it worked out the first night because he pitched really well out of the bullpen, but. I don't know. Now they might be questioning if Kershaw can't go. Who knows? He's had back spasm problems before, though, too. He's been scratched from starts. Especially in the past 3 or 4 years, he's had some problems with it. So, we'll see. But that's definitely a big blow because, Gonsolin's talented, but he's not Clayton Kershaw. So.
Yeah, exactly. Tracking back to the NFL here. Last week we didn't get to touch on it too much because we didn't want to take away all of the listeners' time. But quarter was the quarter of the way through the season last week, and I wanted to kind of get an idea on where you guys, or where you've been specifically, because Isaiah's not here. But
not here.
He's here in spirit. I felt it. So, where you think players are lining up for MVP, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year. And who looks like the Super Bowl favorites again? Well, I think we touched on that last week. We touched on the Super Bowl favorites. We didn't touch on the players.
Yeah. Right now, there's a few guys who could definitely be in consideration for MVP, but I think Russell Wilson's probably playing just a little bit above everybody else. Aaron Rodgers has definitely probably got to be in the conversation. Way he's played. I don't think you can really discount Kyler Murray yet. I mean, he had one bad week, but he's put together some. I mean, if he continues to play, at this high level, he's definitely going to be there for consideration at the end. So those 3, I'd say. But probably right now, Russell Wilson for MVP. Coach of the Year, definitely Matt Patricia. I'm kidding. No. No. Coach of the Year is tough. That's really hard to pick this early. I don't know.
There's a lot of me that still says, Belichick got to be in the conversation.
Belichick's probably in the conversation. Yeah. So if the Pats, end up being, 12-4, if they end up putting together that kind of year, he's probably got to be it. Mm-hmm. Just because, on paper, they really weren't that good at all. but they find a way to get it done, and that's him. That's his coaching. I hate to say it, but really, if the Bears really continue to win, Matt Nagy's probably got to be there.
Mm-hmm. Sean McDermott, what he's doing with the Bills?
Sean McDermott is probably, I would say, probably Sean McDermott right now. If you're gonna pick one, I would probably say him. But yeah, those three are probably good picks right now. But yeah, I mean that's tough. That's really tough because
I was gonna say John Harbaugh kind of comes in my head too a little bit, but
yeah.
I think I would say probably McDermott right now though. If I really,
I'd say McDermott, and I hate to say it, but Matt Nagy probably needs to be up there for sure.
Oh yeah, that's true with what the Bears are doing too.
Bears are doing. I didn't expect that.
I've always liked Nagy as a coach. I'm not gonna put that out against it.
He's a really good coach.
So yeah, I would say Russell Wilson probably for MVP. I think Patrick Mahomes still probably is a runner-up. He's still putting up good numbers, 13-1 touchdown interception ratio, and I think he's like third among quarterbacks in rush yards.
Yeah, I think the reason I didn't even say Mahomes is, and I should say Mahomes, but it's just we come to expect it now, and it's one of those things. It's almost like that we've talked about before, like that LeBron James syndrome type thing, where it's like no, like that's just what he does, and but it's like, look, man, if he's doing this, like he deserves MVP, like he deserves that level of consideration at least. But yeah, I'd still put Russell Wilson probably slightly ahead of him right now. But yeah, I mean, he's probably in second or third place. You're right.
Taking quarterbacks out of the conversation, running backs or wide receivers, tight ends, whatever. Who is probably the offensive player of the year?
Yeah, if you take quarterbacks out, man, that's tough. That's really tough.
I'd probably go Alvin Kamara right now.
I'd go Kamara.
Dalvin Cook's been good.
Aaron Jones has been really good. He's probably not level of Kamara right now, though.
Calvin Ridley.
Ridley's been crazy, but he's the first couple weeks especially. Dak was having an insane year. This is about QBs, but I didn't even mention Dak probably would have been right there as far as stats go before his leg fell off.
Yeah. Funny that TV blurs those out. Like,
yeah.
Funny, I'll just go to Twitter. He tried
to put it back in. Did you see that? As soon as it happened, he looked down and saw it and was like, "Oh," and tried to. That's gross. But yeah. So I don't know. I don't think any receivers really. It's hard for a receiver to win that award. It's hard for just because offenses spread the wealth so much now. There's not really one. You don't really see. I mean, obviously you saw the crazy year that Michael Thomas had last year, but like even then, like they still had other receivers they threw the ball to. It wasn't like the year Calvin Johnson had, when it's like this guy was literally unguardable. Michael Thomas was pretty unguardable that last year, but like it was different. It was way different than that Calvin Johnson year. So it's really hard for receivers to win that award. Calvin Ridley's probably up there. Other than that, I don't know.
DK Metcalf, I know we talked about, but
DK. I don't know, but there haven't been any like receivers where I'm like, wow.
No one's really separated from the field too much right now.
Yeah, like there's been guys who have been really good every week. Even like Robbie Anderson's been really good every week, but it's like
Jamison Crowder when he plays, he's killing it.
He's killing it, but it's like, there's not. Yeah, there hasn't been anybody separating at that position right now. And then tight end, I mean, best tight end I think's been like Mark Andrews. Hunter Henry's been a disappointment.
Kelsey's got the yardage.
Kelsey's got the yards and the target.
But yeah, Robert Tonyan has the touchdowns too.
Yeah.
I mean, it could go on. Who's your comeback player of the year right now?
Cam,
yeah. Dalvin Cook probably in that conversation.
Yep, Dalvin. But I'd still probably go Cam right now. I'd like to see how Stafford finishes the year because I think he'll probably still be in consideration.
It's not like his numbers are inherently bad. He was kind of.
His numbers are actually pretty good. I mean, the interceptions are a little high right now, but they're actually really solid. It's just they can't win a game, so you gotta win some games here. So
yeah, he's same amount of picks as Russell Wilson, just doesn't come with the yardage and the touchdowns.
Yeah, and the wins.
That's usually helpful in those kind of races.
Yes.
So yeah, I did kind of want to talk a little bit about go over some of my all pros for the first quarter. Did have Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson there, quarterback. Running back, I had Kamara, Cook, and even Eckler.
He's been really good. Yep.
Yeah, when he's on the field healthy, he's been good.
Yep.
Tight ends, kind of surprises this year, Mo Alley Cox and Jonnu Smith.
Okay.
Wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen also with him on the other side, Keenan Allen, Calvin Ridley, and DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
Tackle, Andrew Whitworth and Bakhtiari, Ali Marpet and Joe Tooney, Corey Lindsley, J.C. Treader, Wyatt Teller, Zach Martin, and then the other tackles, Jack Conklin has been good this year with Darrell Williams.
Yep.
Edge, T.J. Watt, Khalil Mack, Myles Garrett, Eric Armstead.
Yeah.
Tackle, DeForest Buckner, Cam Hayward, Aaron Donald, and Vita Vea, who just got hurt now. So Vea's out.
Yep.
Linebackers, Miles Jack, Darius Leonard, Levante David, and Fred Warner. Corners, Jair Alexander, Denzel Ward, James Bradbury, Marlon Humphrey, Xavier Rhodes, and J.C. Jackson.
Yeah.
Safety, Jesse Bates, Harrison Smith, Jordan Poyer, and Justin Simmons. And then the kickers went between Jason Sanders and Rodrigo Blankenship. And then punter is actually the Lions punter, Jack Fox. With Brad. He's been amazing. Like, that's the one thing the Lions fans can
they've been relatively good at is punting. Who's your rookie of the year?
That's a good question. Rookie of the year has got to be, I think, Justin Jefferson right now, man.
I would even go with Justin Herbert right now. Justin Herbert's been awesome.
Quarterbacks usually get it, but I guess.
I know it's like based off of mostly like pretty much 2 big weeks right now for him, but
if we look long term, Justin Herbert. If I just go on what I've seen from the first quarter, I'd probably still go with Justin Jefferson.
I've liked what I've seen out of Herbert. Like, he's actually he's better than I thought he was going to be. I mean, they've got some weapons that he can use.
After I watched that 7-3 bowl game, Michigan State Oregon, a couple years back, gosh, I was like, I don't know if I like Herbert very much, but
he is. He's been solid. He's been really good. Big arm. He's pretty impressive. So.
I still look back, man. If he would have went to the NFL, if he would have declared for the NFL early, he would have been the first overall pick. I really believe that Giants would have taken him.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and then my returners, I had Devin DuVernay and Cordero Patterson.
Yeah, Patterson's been really good. He's really good.
So tailing off to keep NFL talk still, but Lions Jaguars preview. Lions coming off a bye week. What do you expect in this game?
If we
more bitter disappointment, or are they going to come out guns blazing?
I think they're going to. Okay, so here's my problem. They have come out guns blazing in a lot of games, and most games really. And they've typically played pretty well, especially first quarters right now. I do expect them to actually play well. I think they're a better team than the Jaguars. The Jags, surprised early. They've got some good players. Minshew, I think they found something in Minshew, at least for the time being, to where he's a solid QB. DJ Chark's tough. They've got some pieces there. So they're probably better than I thought they were. But I do think the Lions, all right, if you're going to keep Patricia now, like, he's got to do something now. All right, you're coming off a bye week. You've already got multiple organizations firing their head coaches. So you're coming off a bye week. I feel like I'm expecting just a more cohesive team, just a team that's, I wouldn't say necessarily firing on all cylinders, but because I don't think they're a great team, but I need more, just need cleaner play, just overall cleaner play, executing at a higher level. And if they do that, I think they'll win. We'll talk about it later, but
we'll make our ultimate pick later.
Yeah, but
no, I agree with you, man. They've had preparation out here. And this is I think do or die for Matt Patricia. So if any game has been save your job, it's this one, because of the NFL already getting rid of their two head coaches already now, with Dan Quinn and Bill O'Brien. Yeah. I think Matt Patricia doesn't win this game, and especially if the Lions look bad, look sloppy, make poor mistakes and stuff, it's going to fall back on the coach. I think Matt Patricia's gone if they lose this game and they lose it bad.
I think he's gone if they lose it no matter what. That's really what I do think.
Even if it's like a 1-point game?
Yeah, because he's lost all those games. Like, any close game, he loses. Anytime they have a lead, they lose it. He loses. Like, eventually it's like, look, man.
It just seems like too long of a leash because I feel like you already should have let him go from what you've seen.
Right.
Like, I feel like he should have been, but maybe Bill O'Brien still should have been first just because of his bad GM choices too. But
Yeah.
I think Patricia should have been gone before Dan Quinn, and I felt like before the bye week would have been the time to do it.
Well, yeah, and my thing, well, they don't want to give a new coach time to, a whole bye week essentially, and then a whole game week to get things situated, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I thought Patricia should have been gone, before anybody else probably. I mean, yeah, like I said, Bill O'Brien maybe, but Bill O'Brien maybe because I expect the Texans were expected to be better too.
Yeah, they're a playoff team. They're supposed to be a playoff team again this year.
Yeah, with Dan Quinn, what are they 0-5 now, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. He if they kept him long enough, then Arthur Blank would have been reeled right back in to be like, oh, let's keep, because Dan Quinn is always terrible in the first couple weeks, and then he'll pull like 3 of the next 4 wins and to end the season, finish strong, and then I'm like, oh, okay, let's keep him around. And he's a proven coach. I mean,
that's my thing. I mean, he's made the Super Bowl, so like he's got that to hang his hat on. If you've made the Super Bowl, you can't. You've always got that. So he'll get a job. He'll definitely get a job somewhere. It's just one of those things where, too long a leash. If you're not gonna, what scares me is, and maybe it doesn't scare me because then maybe they'll just tank and get like the number 1 pick. But what scares me is, if you haven't let him go already, then maybe you're just not going to this year. At least before the year's over, and maybe that's okay. Maybe we just need to tank and move on and lose every game, and but my problem is it's like they're super close in every game right now, so it's like
they're not, that proves they're not like a bad team. It's hard to like just root against this early in the season still. I mean, they're 1-3, but I mean, this early in the season, it's like I'm not going to root for them to lose.
2-3, you squeak out 2 in a row, suddenly you're 500, right? And you're back to kind of where you thought you were going to be. So maybe, I mean, and maybe that's what Patricia is preaching to ownership or GM or doing whatever, saying, hey, like, this is where we're at, but this is where we think we can be, in 3 or 4 games, which that's pretty much all he can do now. But it's just, I don't know, it's just frustrating to see. Nothing's going to change unless the owners and unless the organization as a whole is committed to a complete overhaul. Like nothing is gonna change, and
it's got to start at the top, man. I really believe that. I don't know. And Sheila Ford, is she going to sell the team still? Probably not. She's got the power now. It's going to be a couple more years.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, as a Lions fan, like, I hope they come out after the bye week and they're a new Lions team. They come
punch them in the throat, pretty much. Yeah.
Come out crazy and come out dominate and win a football game. That they should win and dominate it. That would be awesome, but I just don't see it. I really don't. I think they'll win. I really do. And that's what I do expect, like I said, but I just don't see it as a long-term, like, this is a turning point in the season. They'll turn the whole thing around type thing. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I still feel like even if they win by 1 point, I'm gonna feel disappointed because it's like that is at 1 point win where they probably look sloppy. Then is going to save Patricia for another week.
Yeah,
and that means they can probably lose the next game, even if it's a win. They have a pretty winnable schedule in the next couple games.
Yeah, and I'm not. They've played some tough teams. The Bears are better than we thought they were. They were probably.
Packers
they could have won that game. The Packers are very good in my opinion, and they, they had a lead. The Saints, they probably could have beaten the Saints, really. So but the Saints are good. They're a good team. So you're sitting there, you're going, okay, that's a tough schedule for the most part. So, if you're 1-3, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. But it's like the way they've lost. It's how they've lost the past 3 years. Like, it's how they've consistently continued to lose and lose and lose. It's like, eventually it's like, look, early on in the Patricia, if this was Patricia's first year and they were losing like this, that's okay. I really wouldn't. It'd be like, all right, well, they're right there. They're real close. And, he's just trying to change the team, change the culture. Next year, they'll win those close games. They won't blow those leads, or at least not all of them, But if you're already, this far into his tenure and you're still doing the same things you were doing early on in your tenure, you know, eventually it comes down to the coach isn't good enough anymore. Like eventually you got to come to a decision as an organization and say, hey, this guy's just not going to get it done. We got to move on. So
what do you think the Lions have to do to win this game? What part of their game plan is going to have to succeed the most to be effective and win?
I would say they really need. I mean, they are a better team than the Jaguars. I firmly believe that. So you can't give them extra possessions. So, you know, avoid turnovers. In my opinion, just run the ball. Like the run game has been a lot better than, you know, I think any of us expected. Obviously, some of that's due to Adrian Peterson's a little bit of resurgence here. You know, great. But the only good thing they've done so far is getting him.
And Jack Fox.
And there you go. And the punter. Yep. So, you know, run the ball. You know, don't put it all on Stafford. You know, he's been fine this year, but, you know, you don't need to put it all on his shoulders when you are able to run the ball. So run the ball. You don't, and, you know, rely on Peterson, and then just take care of the football and, you know, win by 2 touchdowns in the end. That's all I'm asking for. I'm asking for a clean, well-played game. You know, your defense is – I don't know what to really think of the Lions defense right now because it shows flashes. But I feel like they should be able to bottle up the Jaguars. I mean, they'll probably hit some. Minshew will probably hit some downfield stuff. But, you know, just if you control the ball, limit turnovers, I feel like they'll probably win by 10 points, we'll just say. So
the defense should be relatively healthy again. I think Justin Coleman is even taken off IR now. I think he's slated to come back.
Yeah. Yep.
And then they have Desmond Trufant and Jeff Okudah again, Amani Araware, who's been pretty good this year. Deron Harmon's probably been the best secondary player for sure this year. So if Tracy Walker plays as well he did in the first 2 weeks, he'd been pretty bad the last 2 games. But
yep. We bad talked Okudah pretty hard after that first game he played because he was horrible, and he's shown some flashes of being pretty solid lately. Obviously he's still, but you know, if you get guys like Coleman back and, you know, you get everybody healthy, then maybe you don't need to – he won't be exposed as much. You know, then you can kind of work him in like you probably wanted to from the beginning, and, you know, where he's matched up properly, you know, where he's not guarding Michael Thomas, where he's not, you know,
Yeah, he doesn't have to take the number one guy every single week.
Exactly, which, you know, we can argue about, you know, he's the top 3 pick. Maybe he should be able to guard Michael Thomas. We can argue about that all you want, but – you know, now maybe you're as a secondary as a whole, if you get healthy, I feel like, you know, now you've got a pretty solid defense that you can kind of take the field with.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with everything. Defense has to make a play or two for them to win this game, and I kind of agree with you. I think they should win this game. Mm-hmm. So we'll obviously make our final pick there the end of the episode, but I think you can kind of see where we're leaning.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll read off a couple NFL stats that I found throughout the week. But since the start of the season, 18 of the top 20 TV shows have been NFL games. The top 3 games this year so far was Week 1, Tampa Bay Bucks versus the New Orleans Saints, 26.3 million viewers.
Wow.
Then Dallas versus Seattle in Week 3, and then the Giants versus the Cowboys in Week 5. So, yeah, Dallas getting some pretty huge love. The presidential debate and the vice presidential debate are the only 2 non-NFL programs in the top 20.
Wow. I believe it, though. I mean, and that's why the NFL needed to play. You know what I mean? That is why they were pushing to play this year, and why they were like, no, we can't cancel the season. We can't do that, because it's like they needed – I mean, that's where their revenue's coming from. They're not getting it from the –
Well, no one's coming to one of the games anymore. They're
they're not getting it at the gate, you know. So that's where, you know, that's where they're going to get the revenue. And people were starving for sports, you know, after having nothing for so long. You know, they want football.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Again, since the start of the 2019 season, the Seahawks are 14-2 in one-score games. The Chargers are 3-13 in one-score games. So the Seahawks are like the Chargers, but they actually win the games. Like, it's amazing what a difference that record could be. But again, we talked about it with the Lions. They can't hold those leads, and then they lose those by a score. And
well, even the Chargers very easily could have beaten the Bucs this year.
And the Saints yesterday went to overtime and lost by 3.
Yep. I mean, so what does that say? Does it say you're a bad team because you can't hold those leads, or you can't, you're losing close games, or does it say you're really close?
I think
there's a lot of teams that are really close. You know what I mean?
I think it means they're really close, but I think a lot of people look at the Chargers roster and like, you should be better on paper. And Anthony Lynn has been a pretty good coach before. I don't know where the struggle is coming in, and it could now be quarterback play. Phillip Rivers had a noodle arm last year, and now you have a rookie quarterback. There's going to be rookie mistakes that despite how good he's been this year, there's going to be those hiccups.
Yeah.
Let's see another one here I got. Funny stuff. The Chargers are now the 5th team in the NFL history to blow 17-point leads in back-to-back games. No team has ever lost 3 straight games when leading by 17 plus.
I'm surprised the Lions hadn't done that in this stretch run here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. They're probably somewhere near that list.
Yeah.
Another one here. An on-pace stat to ponder. Aaron Donald is on pace for 24 sacks, which would break the single-season record by Michael Strahan of 22.5.
Really?
Again, an interior defensive lineman putting up 24 sacks. Aaron Donald's a beast.
Yeah, that's again why we never thought the Rams were any good, but you're like, that guy's good and he makes their defense better. Just that one guy changes how. If you take him off that defensive line or that defense, they're okay. They're not even okay. They're bad.
They're bad. Yeah. 10 players have had more receiving yards in a game this season than Eagles tight end Zach Ertz has in 5 games combined. So he's been a huge disappointment.
Yep.
Because he's healthy. He's healthy too.
That's the worst part about it. It'd be one thing if he was hurt, but trust me, he's on my fantasy team. Was, or still might be. I don't know.
It's just 10 players and have more than 145 receiving yards in a game at some point this season. Zach Ertz has 145 combined in 5. That is wild.
Especially because of how good he's been.
Yeah, he's got a history, proven track record of being a successful top 3 tight end. But, yeah. NFL scoring leader through week 5 is Hot Rod, Rodrigo Blankenship.
All right.
It makes me smile whenever I see a guy with like glasses, really dark glasses just come out.
Yep. I don't know. He was really good. He was a good kicker in college, but you never know if those guys are going to make it to the NFL. So that's cool.
A really disappointing stat for the Lions. Defensive win rates through Sunday, they are last in they're last in run stop.
Okay.
And they are second to last in pass rush. That is terrible.
You're not going to win too many ball games doing that. They're
Steelers and Bucks are good at all of them, pretty much, is what I'm seeing on this bar graph.
Yeah. Bucks defense has been really good, pretty impressive, menacing. Steelers defense has obviously been insane.
Yeah, that's why I like their defensive coordinator a lot for head coach. Yeah. But again, I think we need something new again, back to an offensive mind.
Yep.
Patricia's rocket science and engineering skills are not doing any good.
Whatever he's doing isn't working. I don't care what it is. So.
Yeah, even Terry Bradshaw said it. Patricia can't coach a lick.
Yes.
He said it on Fox NFL Sunday. Can't coach a lick.
He can't. It's okay. And here's the thing. Everybody's like, "Oh, Belichick's guys are so, they're bad. What's up with that? Whatever. How are they so bad?" It is so different being a head coach versus being a coordinator, especially in the NFL.
We're seeing how good Rod Marinelli is still as a coordinator, and Jim Schwartz is a coordinator.
Yeah, great defensive coordinator. Jim Schwartz is awesome. He always has been.
Kellen Moore moving up in the ranks, but
yeah, but being a head coach, you're not. You're a CEO. You run an organization essentially. It's not the same.
And you're taking on parts of a team that are not your specific forte. Defensive coordinator, you don't have to deal with the offense or any capacity of calling plays for offense.
Yeah. Or you don't even have to. You have no part in. What Belichick excels at is his clock management and game management, right? He's better than anybody else, right? And as a defensive coordinator, you don't have you don't have to look at the clock probably. I mean, who cares? You just run your team out there and get them ready to go. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. Offensive coordinator, I mean, same thing. You're calling plays. That's what you're doing. Like you don't have to worry about the game management piece because that's on the coach, or the head coach, I should say. So it's so different, and I think that's Josh McDaniels is a good example. Like great offensive coordinator. I mean, well known as one of probably the best, if not the best, top 3 in the NFL. Right? Did not do well as a head coach. Was not good.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, what do you mean? This guy's a genius. Well, yeah, he's great at offense, but doesn't mean he knows anything about anything else.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what he did with Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
But, again.
Somehow made him an okay quarterback for a few weeks.
Brought the wins, but they couldn't coach defense for sure.
Yeah, and that's but the thing is, it's not even that a head coach needs to be able to coach defense, but he needs to be able to motivate. He needs to be able to organize things properly. He needs to be able to organize the practice. Like, who knows what the Lions' practices look like? They might be the most maybe they're super organized. I don't know. I really don't know. But that's part of being a coach. That a head coach that is overlooked, I think, because people think that he's a defensive genius. Patricia is probably still an excellent defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. I really wouldn't put it past him, but he's got to focus on the defense because he's doing the defensive stuff, and then he's also got to focus on. I mean, he just can't do it. Obviously, it's not. And I'm not saying, and maybe 5 years from now he maybe could be a good head coach. I mean, guys get better, but right now he can't coach at all. He can't coach a lick. So.
There are now 5 wide receivers in NFL history with 100 consecutive games of at least 2 or plus more catches. One of them just hit 100 as an active streak. Do you think you can guess who it is? Because that meets the company of Tim Brown, Jerry Rice, Antonio Brown, and Marvin Harrison.
Golden Tate
is not. It's a number 2 receiver on a team, which is wild to think of.
Mm-hmm. It's hard.
Yeah, it's a big, huge surprise. I definitely was like, I'm marking this one down. It's Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry, really?
Yeah.
I believe it though. I mean, he
gets the catches and he's just not standing out too much. So it seems like he must be sticking around 2 catches, but 100 consecutive games though with 2+ catches. That's really good company.
He's also got a cannon of a left arm.
Whoa, that was a great throw.
It was.
So Romeo Crennel also became the oldest man in NFL history to serve as a head coach.
Okay.
73. George Halas was 72, so he passed George Halas.
So even Romeo Crennel's he's a Belichick. He was a Belichick guy.
Yep.
And he's he's pretty much as a head coach. So another example.
Mm-hmm. Chiefs are the only team in the NFL to allow 20 points or fewer in each game this season.
Huh. Okay.
2 players with at least 10 QB hits, TJ Watt and Aaron Donald.
Okay.
I feel like I've got one more in here. I'm going to find. Jack Fox has the biggest jump in Madden 21 ratings so far out of every player.
Mm-hmm.
So he went from a 66 to a 75, so he's already a +9.
Nice.
So that was the last one I wanted to. Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna do that. There was, I don't know if I want to come back to it because I'm gonna have to dig a little bit to find it. I think. It's about the Colts and the Bears games. So they've already played. So they've already played this year.
Is it the presidential one?
Yeah, that was wild.
So it was what the past,
4 games. I think it was the past 4 games for the past 4. Yeah, here it is.
During election year when they play, obviously.
Yep. Since 2004, the winner of the Bears-Colts game during the regular season coincides with which political party wins the presidential election.
Yep.
So in 2004, when the Colts won, George W. Bush. Obviously, the Colts represent the Republicans. The Bears represent the Democrats. Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012 when the Bears won, and in 2016 the Colts won again. Donald Trump won. Colts just beat the Bears 19-11 this year. So Donald Trump's next getting reelected.
Yep. The Colts have spoken.
Colts have spoken. Frank Reich has spoken.
Yes.
So, yeah, those are the interesting stats for the week that I wanted to make sure I got out of the way.
Sure.
Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
It is obviously the championship series right now, going to the World Series. Yep. What does it look like to you right now? Who's going to the World Series? Who's winning it? Because Braves are still up top of the 7th, 6-0 right now.
6-0 still? Okay, I was going to take a look. Not that really changes things, but
yeah.
So this is such a weird season, and I just think that the Rays and the Braves have caught lightning in a bottle right now. They've kind of hit on every kind of move they've made, especially with the Braves. They've brought up the right young pitching. The Rays they've got guys that are hitting that, you really never even heard of until a couple weeks ago.
Like a Rosarena, Rosarena. Yeah.
Yeah. Like what? Like that guy didn't even play very much during the regular season either. Like, but that's just how the Rays are. They, that's the type of organization they are. That's how they do things, which is great. Had this been a 162 game season, I don't know if I would put as much trust into the Rays. Obviously in the playoffs it's different, whatever, but the Rays just didn't strike me as good of a team as it played out, because it's only a 60 game season. You get hot and you're gonna be right there. So I really do think it's probably going to be Rays and Braves. I think the Braves have a better team.
Because their best player is actually like their worst hitter right now in the playoffs so far, Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
He's hitting like under 100 right now in the playoffs.
Exactly.
He's one of their best hitters.
Exactly. He's got a good chance to win NL MVP. So, I think I'd probably go Braves if that ends up being the matchup. That'll be a pretty fun World Series. It's the Rays do things different than any other team. They run out some quirky lineups. They run out some quirky decisions as far as who's pitching. They use a bunch of openers. They do a bunch of different stuff. So it'd be really interesting to see that. And they don't really apologize about it either. They're pretty open about how they go. They're very analytical. They look at the numbers, and that's how they make their decisions. Which that's where baseball is.
Is Moneyball to me, like Brad Pitt.
It is. That is. But to be a small market team like them, and they can't keep half their guys. Like a lot of the guys that are on the team right now, once they get through their rookie contracts, or once they get they're gonna just leave.
That's arbitration. They can't afford it.
Yeah, they can't afford them. So they have to play this way. So they have to look at it from an analytical standpoint, and that's the way the entirety of baseball is going right now. Which the Rays probably overdo it a little bit, which is again why I don't in a 162 game season I don't know how valid at all it works out, because eventually a team like the Yankees probably becomes better than they are, but they caught lightning in a bottle, and they are hot right now. And they're going to be tough to beat. So I think it's probably going to be Rays, Braves. I'd probably pick Braves in that matchup, just because I think they, overall better roster, deeper pitching staff. The Rays probably have a better bullpen, but just starting pitching wise and lineup wise, better roster for the Braves there. So I'd probably pick Braves in 6, I'd say, in that matchup. So
I'd probably with you on the Braves, especially with what the Braves are doing right now to the Dodgers. Like, a lot of people look at the Dodgers and like they're going to win this whole thing, and so the fact that they're still beating up on the Dodgers, they have a good lineup, man. Like Marcell Ozuna, you have Ozzie Albies kind of came out of nowhere. He's been pretty good this year. Acuna, I'm a big fan of Ronald Acuna Jr. And then Markakis bringing the veteran leadership. Freddie Freeman's been good. D.R. Nod is their catcher. Dansby Swanson. I like Dansby Swanson.
Yep.
But then, Max Fried has always just been a really solid and reliable pitcher. Ian Anderson pitching tonight, and he's been good.
He's come up. That's again, like they brought him up probably 2 or 3 weeks before the season ended, and he's been lights out. That's a great move right there. They've both these teams have just clicked all the right, pushed all the right buttons at the right time, which in a 60-game season is it's different. You've got different options, whatever, but no one expected Ian Anderson when the season started. No one knew who Ian Anderson
Even
was.
Kyle Wright, what do we expect from Kyle Wright here?
Right. I mean, yeah, they're both highly touted prospects, right? He pitched at Vanderbilt. That's great. But, no one expected that, what they are now from them.
And then they got a good bullpen, man. Mark Melanson, Will Smith, Shane Green, Darren O'Day. That bullpen, you have guys that you can just go to, if Max Fried or Anderson or Wright have to go only 5 innings, you're going to have guys that are going to be able to take care of the next 4 for you pretty reliably.
Well, and what that bullpen is, that's a veteran bullpen. They don't have young arms that are going to get – because, those bullpen guys, they're in the high leverage situations. Obviously, the starters are too, but, they're late in the game with the game on the line.
Mental game. It's a mental game.
Yes.
You have to have that experience.
More than anything else, everybody in the big leagues has the stuff. It's the guys who can figure it out in their head late in the game. So that's a veteran bullpen. So where you saw teams that, maybe they have some talented bullpens earlier in the playoffs, maybe have talented bullpens, good arms, but if they, if they're young and hadn't been there before, that's, that got to some teams. So yeah.
That's to me, I'm looking at the lineup for the Dodgers, and I'm you see why people like him so much. Mookie Betts had a great year. Cody Bellinger's an all-star. Justin Turner's really good. Corey Seager, Chris Taylor, Max Muncy has great history. AJ Pollock.
Kike Hernandez hit a home run the other night. He's good. He's a great utility guy.
Mm-hmm. And then you have the 2 superstar pitchers with Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, and then obviously we're getting different guy tonight. But you have Julio Urias and Brewster Gratterall and Joe Kelly and Kenley Jansen. That's another veteran bullpen too. Yep. So it's another team, but the Braves are beating up on them. So you've got to think whoever wins in the National League coming home with the hardware. I've got to think.
I would say, yeah.
But the Astros still have the same guys even from a couple of years back where they were messing around, and George Springer, Michael Brantley, Bregman, Altuve, Gurriel, Correa, Reddick. They've got all those familiar names that have brought them to where they've been in the past couple of years. You had Kyle Tucker and Maldonado, and then they have pitching. Framber Valdez has been good this year. Zach Greinke still, Lance McCullers, Urquidy, and then bullpen of Christian Javier, Enoli Paredes, and Ryan Presley. And the bullpen doesn't seem as good to me for the Astros, but again, reliable starters they can go to, and then that lineup. They
got really hurt by if they had Verlander, if Verlander never got hurt, that would have changed that team. But what the Astros have going for them and what the Dodgers have going for them, the 2 teams that are getting beat currently, is they've both been there. Yeah. Right. So the Dodgers have been
the past several years.
Yeah, the Dodgers have been there and been real close. The past couple of years. The Astros have won a World Series recently. I mean, they've been right there, right? So, as much as teams want to chalk it up to the Astros cheating thing, yeah, great. Yeah, they did, but they're still a good team. They didn't, they're still a very, very good team. And crazy talented across the board, and they've been there. So, I don't know how much the absence of fans. I mean, there's some fans now, but
Zach Greinke loves it.
Yeah. The absence of fans probably has some sort of effect a little bit. If there were fans here, I think that would have changed and if you were going back and forth, home field advantage versus just staying at one stadium type thing, I think that would have changed kind of the outlooks of these series a little bit. But the teams that have been there before, if they can squeeze out a win in Game 3, make it 2-1, then they might get some momentum. So I wouldn't be surprised if these series kind of get extended a little bit, these championship series a little bit, and then we'll kind of start seeing the depths of some of these starting rotations and bullpens. In a shortened season, a lot of these bullpens got taxed. By these teams trying to make the playoffs because they're overusing them and they're trying to win every single game because they can't afford to drop a game in a season. So we'll see who really it's going to come down to probably, especially in these championship series games at least, it's probably coming down to whose bullpen's the deepest. Unless a team like the Braves, just runs away with it, it's possible. But
yeah, and that's what I think. Even if it gets down to a Rays or even Astros against the Braves, I just don't think maybe the Astros, if they somehow get it back together, can handle that lineup. But I don't think a rotation of Snell and Glasnow and Morton and then a bullpen that I don't really know that well of like
they've got all kinds of names.
I know Diego Castillo. He's good. He's been pretty good.
Yeah.
But like Nick Anderson, Ryan Thompson, Peter Fairbanks. I don't look at those guys as a bullpen that's going to be able to handle the Braves or keep the Braves or Dodgers, whoever is in the World Series, off the board. So
right.
Maybe the Astros can figure it out real quick here. Obviously, no one wants to see the Astros in the World Series. They're like, come on, not still.
Right. I mean, baseball fans around the world would be just pissed.
Yeah.
And of course, it would be the very 2020 of everything for them to win the World Series in this year. After all that would not be okay. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Jets just released Le'Veon Bell, by the way.
Oh, they released him. I knew they were shopping. No one was even going to pay a 7th round pick for that guy.
Nope, he's gone.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, Lions might have top waivers.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think it gets past the other teams that are ahead of them yet. But
no.
But yeah,
need him.
Kind of speaking of that 2020, things going the way 2020 would. Is that the only positive thing about the NBA Finals and the Lakers winning, Kobe Bryant dying in 2020? The Lakers winning, to me, that's the only thing that jumps out in the NBA Finals.
I mean, really cool for the Lakers. I mean, expected to an extent. It's not like they.
Yeah.
Some people tried to make it.
Some people just are sick of LeBron. Like I just don't like. Nobody wants.
Yeah, and I'm a little sick of LeBron, but like it was expected, and like they dominated that last game. I mean, it was impressive the way they dominated, especially. You could see it though. That Game 5, the Heat had to give every inch.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler was like on the ground,
literally dying pretty much on the court to be able to win that game. And that's why I thought I'm like Game 6. I'm like they can't do that 3 games in a row. Like there's no way.
They're just deep, man. I mean, the Lakers, after you get past even LeBron and Anthony Davis, like the superstar elite players in the league, the veteranship of like Dwight Howard and Rajon Rondo, Markieff Morris.
Well, those guys stepped up in the playoffs. Like they were great in the playoffs.
LeBron didn't seem like he had to do everything for the first time this year. Like, I mean, so yeah, Danny Green, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma, all those. There is plenty of weapons around them, and the Heat have a bench of like Kendrick Nunn and Iguodala and like maybe Tyler Hero. But I other than that, like. Duncan Robinson, like you said, caught lightning in a bottle there for a couple games. Threes, and Jay Crowder had to step in when Goran Dragic hurt his foot, and then they tried to push Dragic back in the last game, and
I don't really know how
points and wasn't effective. They rushed back just for like desperate.
I know they were desperate, and I know they really. I mean. With him out there fully healthy, that does change that team because he was their point guard. I mean, it really changes how they do things. But I wouldn't have tried to run him out there. I mean, he was so ineffective. I mean, it hurt him more than it helped him, in my opinion. And they'd won a game, they'd won 2 games without him in there. So it's like, okay, it sucks, but like you gotta. In my opinion, I just wouldn't have run him out there again.
Yeah, stick what was working for you, and then obviously, hopefully, he's 100% healthy, or at least 95% healthy, because he didn't even seem like he was 90 or 95% healthy in that game. So maybe
it's a bad injury though. He tore a ligament in his. I mean, you can't come back from that and play.
You're not going to be able to run gut busters back and forth on the court for sure. But I think what this did though for the Heat and Jimmy Butler specifically played his heart out, and. Mm-hmm. I think that kind of cements him in the top 8 to 10 players in the entire NBA. Like he showed that superstar piece. Like I think that kind of puts him up in the upper echelon of NBA players for sure.
I would agree. And I think I don't know, Jimmy Butler is like a different kind of. I think it kind of gave him like a kind of sort of a national spotlight a little bit because I think a lot of times people kind of looked at him as like just a tier below everybody, like you're saying. Like, and I'm not saying for a while there he probably was, but he kind of got some national spotlight a little bit as the guy, being in the finals against the Lakers and against LeBron or whatever, and and played crazy well. And he definitely deserves all the accolades that he got for how well he played. It will be interesting to see, how they come, depending on how sports even look next year. Who knows? Yeah. But the Heat should be poised to go on maybe some extended playoff runs here now. They need to pick up a few more pieces. I think they're definitely missing some things. But that's a great organization, probably the best organization as a whole, I'd say, in the NBA, just the way they're run. So I would expect the Heat to be right back there next year. Maybe I wouldn't expect them to be in the finals, but I would expect them
to be a semifinals team though, for sure.
Yeah, at worst, and have a chance to get right back in there. So
yeah, I guess that'll take us to the pick six segment here. Gosh, man, some good football games coming into week 6. We're gonna go first. Cleveland Browns at Pittsburgh Steelers.
We'll go Steelers. Browns have been relatively impressive. They've won some shootouts.
They were bad week 1. They were not good week 1. It was
they were really bad week 1. I think. I don't think they're as bad as they showed week 1, but I don't think they're as good as they really, some people are thinking they are. I think their offense is very good. I still think their defense is other than Myles Garrett is a terror.
Speaking of Myles Garrett, it's his first game against the Steelers since
it's that stuff. He's terrifying. But anyway, I just think the Steelers are just a better overall team, and I think the Browns. I wouldn't say the Browns are a fraud. They're not. They're a better team than they have been in quite some time. But they're not. Some teams are. Their fans are delusional if they think they're a Super Bowl team or something crazy like that. They're just not. They're not that. They're not complete yet. They're not, and they've and they shouldn't think they are either. I don't know. They've got a lot of weapons. They've got Baker's actually playing relatively well now. They've got some. They got something going there on offense. That they need to build. Now they really need to retool and get to the point now where maybe in 2 years from now, maybe you'd be really sitting there thinking about it. All right, now we got a team. But it's still the Browns. So I just don't think they're that great.
Yeah, that's what I say. Their strength right now this year has been their offense.
And they're good. I think they're good.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers' strength is the defense. Yeah. For sure this year. And their offense is actually competent as well. So I think you put those two together, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers offense is going to do enough to the Cleveland Browns defense if you want to take the weaker of the two vessels on each team. Mm-hmm. I just think that's going to kind of separate in this key divisional game with the Browns being 4-1 and the Steelers being 4-0. I see the Steelers winning this game just because they have more weapons on both sides of the football. Yeah,
and I think Roethlisberger's been actually pretty decent, better than I maybe thought he was going to be.
And Chase Claypool's gone off.
Claypool's been insane. That last game.
They already have Juju, who's considered one of the top-notch wide receivers in the game, and then Deontay Johnson's been okay, and then mix James Conner and Benny Snell and that really good offensive line of DeCastro, Villanueva, and Filer and Pouncey. It's just a really good line.
That's a good team in my opinion overall, and they're better than the Browns. I think the Browns are probably, like I said, about 2 years away from really, as long as the things go according to the plan, they're probably 2 years away from really probably showing that they could possibly win that division.
If Odell wants to stick around the same team.
Yeah, but even then, I think they've drafted well enough offensively. Their defense is just not very good. It's just not. Their linebackers are terrible. Besides Myles Garrett, he makes that defense look semi-competent sometimes because their pass rush is all right. But other than that, they're not very good. So, if they can get that defense retooled in the next couple of years, they'll probably make some noise, and I think they can be right there. But, I think they're going to take a step back this week, come back to maybe a little bit more, to look a little bit more like that they did that first week. Not that bad, but
they show that they have a game plan. It's just they're playing a really good team.
Yeah.
Lions and at Jaguars.
Yeah, so we obviously previewed the game and talked about the game. I think the Lions will win. There's probably going to be some sort of disappointment in there still, like you were talking about. It's just not going to look like it should at this point in the Patricia era with the team that they have. It's probably just never going to look exactly how it should right now. And, I think they'll probably win. They should win. I'd say they'll win by 10. That'll be my pick. They're a better team than the Jags. My worry, though, is that they come out flat after a bye week, and they just don't, and the team, Patricia's completely lost the team, and they just come out and they don't want to play for him anymore, and they come out and they just look horrible, which I could see happening, unfortunately. I really could. Because the Lions are not a good enough football team to come out flat and then still kind of coast through the first half and, maybe only be down 3 and then come back and win and, chalk it up to, hey, we didn't play very well early. Like, they're not that good. They're better than, in my opinion, than they performed, as far as the talent wise, but they're not a good enough team to do that. And if they do that, they're going to go out there and get their butts kicked if they do that. So.
Yeah, there's a good chance that they do just roll over and say, you know what, just like the fans, they feel like the fans. They don't want to play for Patricia anymore. Although I think
if they do that, he's gone. He's got to be gone.
Yeah. And that's the good news if they do lose this game by 1 point or by 21 points. Like, Patricia's probably gone because you've got to think that's the reason you come back from a bye week and just play like crap against a Jaguars team that, quite frankly, isn't that great.
Yeah.
So this is a must-win game, and I also believe that the Lions do win this game, similar to what you said, 10, 13 points.
Yeah.
But there's that asterisk where you're like, oh, what kind of Lions roster are we going to see this week?
Yeah. Yep.
So, we're the same in the first 2 games here. We'll take it to the Chiefs at Bills.
It's a tough one.
It is.
Chiefs' defense has actually been a lot better than I thought they would be. For the most part. I'm going to go Chiefs. Chiefs in a close one, though. Chiefs by like 3. The Bills are, certainly not a surprise because I think we all kind of thought they were going to be good. I think the Chiefs will pull it out. I think it'll probably be a high-scoring game, though.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of me wants to go with the Bills, but I think
I wanted to as well, but I just don't think
it's fresh in my mind that they're playing right now, and they're also down to the Titans, 21-10, with 3 minutes left in the third. So it's like it's fresh in my mind to see what they're doing today, or they do kind of look dud-ish, like not much run game going on. They're stopping Derrick Henry really, really well. Derrick Henry's averaging 2.5 yards a carry about.
Yeah.
But they're not getting offense moving down enough. They're kind of bent. The Titans defense is bending, not breaking. Bills, I just don't think they have the offensive firepower to keep up with the Chiefs. And I think the Chiefs defense has been already better than what originally was expected to this year. So I'm also going to copy and take the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, I think against the Chiefs, you at least initially you have to be able to keep up with them and not get blown out early, right? Because they're gonna come out, they're gonna come out guns blazing on offense. Unless you got some crazy defense, which the Bills don't have. They've got a good defense, but it's not. They're not the Steelers, right?
Yeah, so they almost pulled a comeback. I mean, even if they are down early, they almost pulled a comeback off against the Raiders.
Yeah. So, but in my opinion, you have to. But the Raiders had to score 40 points to beat them, right? Yeah. You have to be able to score to beat that team, right? And you got to be able to score early, so you're not down 21-0. You can't ease into the game as an offense against the Chiefs because you're gonna get beat. You're gonna get blown out. If you can keep up with them early, maybe make it 14-14. You trade scores with them early. Your defense can settle in a little bit. Maybe you get to Mahomes a little bit, and
then the coach of the year does his magic, and Sean McDermott figures out a game plan. But
exactly. So, but I just don't see that happening right now for the Bills. They don't have that offensive firepower quite yet. As good as Josh Allen has been this year.
It's so tough. Part of me wants to.
Yeah.
I almost do want to, just because I'm remembering like the Raiders game too. But the Raiders have been awfully impressive from what most people probably anticipated as well. It's just we're still trying to figure out what teams kind of fit where this year. So
Yeah.
And I still think the Chiefs are an elite AFC team. So as of now, I got to stick with the Chiefs. Packers at Bucks.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Bucks. The Packers have been a better team this year, but in my opinion, the Bucks are just a weird team right now. They're just searching for exactly what they want to be and how they're. Obviously, I kind of expected a little bit of this. Like it would take a little bit of time for them to come together, especially with no preseason. I think they're pretty close. I mean, as crappy as they looked against the Bears have a good defense, and they just kind of. They let the Bears win that. They should have never lost that game. And, I feel like the Bucks front is probably going to give Rodgers some fits. They'll get to him a little bit. I think Brady will have a little bit of a bounce back, and he's probably not going to throw 5 touchdowns like he did 2 weeks ago, but, he'll have a bounce back. And I think the Bucks win a pretty close one. And, I don't think it'll be crazy high scoring like maybe initially we thought this game could be. Because the Bucks are injured pretty badly on offense right now. I mean, Mike Evans is pretty much still playing on one foot.
Godwin's hurt, yeah.
Godwin's hurt. O.J. Howard's out. I mean, they're pretty banged up, but I think they'll figure it out. I mean, they're gonna come together here, in my opinion, and start to go on a little bit of a run. And I think this is probably the first game where they really click against a good team.
Yeah, I mean, they'll probably feel like they really need to win this game, and there's going to be that clutch factor that maybe comes out from Tom Brady. But Aaron Rodgers can be just as clutch. And, you talked about that front, and they still have a dangerous front for the Bucks, but Vita Vea is now out for the year, and he's had a phenomenal year.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think they're just hurting a little bit too much with the injuries. And, I think Kenny Clark and Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith are going to be enough blitz firepower against Tom Brady to give him fits like Khalil Mack gave him with the Bears.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be able to stop all of that. And, I think the Packers keep rolling, honestly. So I'm going to take the Packers on this one. All right. Rays at Astros, game 4, Tyler Glasnow versus Zach Greinke.
Going Rays. Glasnow's been pretty awesome this year. Greinke somehow continues to get it done. He's just kind of a crafty righty now. I mean, he's still got good stuff. I shouldn't say that, but I kind of think it's the Rays. It's the Rays' time. It's the Rays' time this year. Like we kind of talked about before, they've kind of just gotten hot at the right time. And they've got something figured out with that lineup right now, and pushing all the right buttons. And Glasnow's kind of been their in my opinion, he's their best. I think he's better than Snell when his stuff's getting put together. Snell's been hurt a little bit, and he's they haven't really extended him this year. So I think Glasnow's stuff is his stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's video game stuff. So Snell's really, but it's kind of crazy. So I think Glasnow puts it together, shuts him down for 5 or 6, and hands it to a pen, and they'll mix and match to get it done. So yeah, I'm gonna go Rays in that game.
I'm going to take the Astros. Zach Greinke loves this no crowd thing way too much.
He does.
And I just, like you said, he's still old, reliable. He's still getting it done. He gets it point A to point B. And I think both Glasnow and Greinke could go 6, even 7 innings worst case. And it could be like a 2-1 or 2-2 game at that point. And it's going to be a battle of bullpens. And to me, you said they're going to mix and match, but I think mixing Christian Javier has been a great bullpen arm for the Astros this year. Paredes and Ryan Presley have been good guys to go to if you need them in the 7, 8, 9. So I think it could come down to the battle of the bullpen. So I'm going to say it's going to be like a close 4-2 win or something for the Astros.
All right.
Last game, number 3 Georgia at number 2 Alabama.
Yeah, Georgia's not that good, I don't think. Their offense is just like not very good. They have a new quarterback, and he looks exactly like their previous quarterback. he's okay, right? So he's just, I mean, Jake Fromm's probably a little bit better, but he's just like, he's got a noodle arm, relatively accurate, can run around a little bit, and, they run the ball and they play defense. That's what they do. You're not going to beat Alabama doing that right now. Alabama, too much speed. Alabama's defense was exposed a little bit last week, to Ole Miss, but, what Georgia does is what Alabama can defend. Georgia doesn't have the dynamic, playmaker at quarterback that's going to run around and make plays and make people miss and scramble around in the backfield and do all that. They aren't spreading the ball out. They're not doing that. Georgia's got good players on offense. They got a couple really good running backs. They've got a good offensive line. They got some good receivers, but they don't run the type of offense that's going to, take advantage of that and give Alabama fits. And Alabama's offense is rolling right now. Obviously, they put up a ton of points against Ole Miss. Ole Miss defense is not very good. But Devontae Smith is a tough cover. Jalen Waddle is probably the fastest guy, maybe one of the fastest guys in college football right now. Najee Harris had 5 touchdowns last game. They're
you have Devontae Smith to opposite Jalen Waddle. Like, you have 2 great receivers. That's probably potential first-round draft picks.
Yeah, they're probably both going top 10, Smith and Waddle.
And then defense, like Dylan Moses, Christian Miller, I believe.
Yeah.
Those guys have been really good in the back end, and their kicker Reichard hasn't missed a single kick yet this year.
Yeah,
and it could
firepower.
This game could come down to a kick or 2, so maybe that does matter a little bit.
I just don't think Georgia can keep up. I really do think it might actually. I don't want to say it'll get ugly, but it might. Like, if Alabama catches fire on offense, Georgia's not going to be able to keep up and match them score for score. So if Alabama is hot on offense, they're going to beat them by 2 or 3 touchdowns easily.
Yeah, I think this is like a 34-17 kind of win for Alabama. Stetson Bennett hasn't thrown a pick yet this year, but Zamir White doesn't have the effectiveness of Najee Harris. Kyrus Jackson has been the number 1 wide receiver for Georgia, but that doesn't do any justice compared to Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. There's just way more weapons. I don't know how they're going to be able to keep up step for step with Alabama. So I think, we're going to both take Alabama on this one as well.
Yeah, I think Alabama, Alabama got not a wake-up call last week, because I think Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin kind of pulled out all the stops, all the trick plays, everything that they needed to do to win that game, to put themselves in a position to possibly win that game against them. It's good for them, but Alabama still pulled away and won. But I think kind of now Nick Saban can say, hey, look, our defense was horrible last week. Now we can kind of refocus them, and on a tough, Georgia's tough. They're definitely going to be a tough matchup for them, a tough game for them. But that offensive firepower, and Mac Jones has been great. He doesn't have to do anything really. You just got to make sure gets the ball out there.
Somewhere in the vicinity of Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, they'll take care of you.
Exactly. It's like they're like, man, look at all his numbers. And I'm like, the dude needs to just make sure that he can throw the ball 8 yards accurately, and then they're going to run for the other 50 by themselves. So, he's been good. He has been impressive because he's been accurate and, using his playmakers. But really, we haven't talked a ton about college football because Big Ten hasn't come back yet. But, Alabama's been really impressive, and Clemson, those have been the 2 teams. I think it kind of showed, the Miamis and some of those teams are probably frauds right now. They're not as good as Oklahoma, they're not as good as, people thought they were going into the year. So definitely Bama in this game though.
Yeah, good stuff. So we're going to check out, going into week 6 after today, the NFL season, and we'll be back to talk about week 6 with a familiar face of the show. RJ should be back on the show next week.
Sweet.
And we probably might do a Big Ten preview because that will be.
Yeah, we probably should next week. We'll do Big Ten.
It would start on the 24th, I believe. So, yeah, we'll do that. All right, Ben. Well, thanks for joining me tonight, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.